On social media, they painted a picture of a perfect family. She was Duchess Dior, a youthful, radiant influencer. He was Frenchman, a successful man with luxurious bulldogs. But beneath that glamorous facade, cracks began to appear: control, suspicion, and inescapable outbursts of violence. Then, a chilling detail sent shivers down everyone's spine on a Facebook live stream. He vowed to kill his wife while turning that threat into reality before the horrified eyes of hundreds of viewers. What transformed a seemingly perfect couple into a horrifying tragedy broadcast live. And could that tragedy have been prevented? In the virtual world of social media, where everything is adorned with vibrant colors and perfect smiles, Zaria Duchess Dior, known by her alias Duchess Dior, had crafted an enviable image for herself. At 27, she was a well-known influencer on Facebook, with thousands of followers. Each of her posts garnered attention: radiant selfies, warm family moments, and glimpses of a life that seemed fulfilled. Her followers often commented, praising her natural beauty and the positive energy she exuded. To them, Duchess Dior was the epitome of a modern woman, beautiful, confident, and living an admirable life. Shamarcus Jamiel Carr, known as the Frenchman, was 9 years older than Duchess. At 36, he had a unique profession: breeding and raising French bulldogs. This was not just a business, but a passion: the French bulldogs, with their upright ears and adorable round faces, provided him with a steady income and a reputation in the dog-loving community. The Frenchman was tall, dark-skinned, and carried himself with confidence. He knew how to present himself on camera, especially when talking about his dogs. On social media, he frequently posted photos and videos of his dogs, sharing care tips and his achievements in breeding. Many customers trusted him and sought him out to purchase high-quality French bulldogs. When Duchess Dior and the Frenchman met, they were quickly drawn to each other. Duchess was captivated by the Frenchman's confidence and financial stability, while he was enchanted by her radiant beauty and social media charisma. They decided to live together and build a life side by side. On Facebook, they were the ideal couple. Shared photos, love-filled statuses, and happy family videos created the image of a perfect relationship. Friends and followers often commented, admiring their love. But behind those glittering images, a completely different story was unfolding, a story steeped in darkness that no one could have anticipated. The Frenchman began showing signs of excessive control. He constantly monitored Duchess's phone, checking her messages and calls. Whenever she received messages from male friends, he would become irritable and ask uncomfortable questions. He demanded that Duchess report all her activities, from where she went and who she met to even what she bought while shopping. At first, Duchess tried to explain and reassure him that her friendships were innocent and nothing to worry about. She showed patience, thinking these were just the normal concerns of a man in love. But instead of being met with trust, her efforts only fueled the Frenchman's growing suspicion. His control didn't stop at monitoring. The Frenchman began restricting Duchess's social interactions. He disapproved of her meeting friends, especially female friends he believed might encourage her to do wrong. He often started arguments before Duchess had plans to go out, forcing her to cancel her appointments to stay home and resolve conflicts. When Duchess gave birth, the joy of welcoming a new family member was quickly overshadowed by a shocking action from the Frenchman. Just days after she was discharged from the hospital, he demanded she take a DNA test to prove the child was his. Duchess felt as though she had been slapped in the face. She had just endured a grueling childbirth, her body still recovering, yet the man she loved doubted her loyalty to such a cruel extent. The Frenchman's outbursts grew increasingly violent. At first, they were harsh verbal reprimands, then escalated to throwing objects, and finally to forceful shoves and grabs. Duchess began hiding her bruises with long-sleeve shirts and heavy makeup. She didn't want anyone to know what was happening in their seemingly happy home. The children in the house, including Duchess's child from a previous relationship and their shared child, witnessed these terrifying scenes. The Frenchman had a bizarre way of handling them. During his arguments with Duchess, he would lock the children in the bathroom and allow them to curse as much as they wanted. He said this was their chance to let loose and express themselves, but as soon as the argument ended, he would threaten to punish them if they repeated those words. This contradictory behavior created an extremely toxic environment for the children's development. They couldn't understand why they were allowed to do something at one moment, but punished for the same action at another. This instability left them in a constant state of anxiety, unsure when they might be scolded or punished. Duchess gradually realized she was trapped in a toxic relationship. She began confiding in close friends and family members about what was happening. She spoke of the Frenchman's control over every aspect of her life, his violent outbursts, and the constant fear she felt. Her friends urged her to leave him, but Duchess felt powerless. She worried about her financial situation, raising her children alone, and especially the threats the Frenchman had made in moments of anger. June 2025 marked a severe escalation in their fractured relationship. On June 15th, the Frenchman crossed all boundaries by publicizing their private conflicts on social media. He posted a lengthy Facebook status accusing Duchess of giving him herpes. He described in detail the symptoms he claimed to be experiencing, asserting that this was proof of Duchess's infidelity. The post exploded like a bomb in their online community. Friends and followers of both were shocked by the serious accusations. Duchess felt as though her world was collapsing around her. She was not only facing domestic violence, but now being humiliated in front of thousands of people. In desperation, Duchess posted haunting messages on her Facebook page. She wrote that she truly didn't know what to do but needed help before she lost her life or freedom. She emphasized that her children needed her. In another post, she admitted to being too loving and too forgiving, saying she was a good woman but with the wrong man. These statuses clearly reflected the mindset of a woman standing on the edge of an abyss. She recognized she was in a dangerous situation but felt trapped by her limited options. Fear of the future, of raising her children alone, and of the Frenchman's threats left her feeling there was no way out. The Frenchman didn't stop at written posts. He decided to use Facebook Live to air his accusations in a more direct and detailed manner. During these live streams, he described what he claimed was evidence of Duchess's infidelity and her infecting him with a disease. He pointed out marks on her body, trying to convince viewers that his claims were true. Duchess tried to defend herself by interrupting and denying the accusations. She explained that what he described could have multiple causes and wasn't necessarily related to the disease he accused her of spreading. But her explanations were drowned out by the Frenchman's loud and aggressive voice. These live streams became a heartbreaking spectacle, where two people who once loved each other now publicly humiliated and hurt one another in front of hundreds of viewers. The most private and sensitive details of their lives were exposed in a brutal manner, causing pain not only to them but also severely impacting the mental well-being of the children in the family. The Frenchman also recounted times he caught Duchess communicating with others via Snapchat and phone calls. He described how she left the house with an overnight bag and returned in different clothes, which he saw as undeniable proof of her deceit. He detailed how he tracked and discovered conversations she tried to keep hidden. But the darkest truth came to light when the Frenchman admitted to his violent actions. He spoke of beating Duchess for hours, forcing her to flee the house without proper clothing and seek help at a police station. However, when the police requested to speak with him to investigate, he chose to flee, clearly showing his evasion of the law and lack of accountability for his actions. By late June 2025, the tension in their home in Winder, Georgia, had reached an unbearable level. The relationship between Duchess and the Frenchman had become a ticking time bomb, waiting for the smallest spark to erupt into tragedy. June 14, 2025 began like any other day in the tense household in Winder, Georgia. The stifling atmosphere of months of accumulated conflicts had turned the house into a powder keg ready to explode. The Frenchman woke up in an unstable mood, still reeling from the accusations about herpes he had posted on Facebook the previous day, which had sparked a wave of mixed reactions online. Duchess tried to maintain normalcy for the children, preparing breakfast and organizing the day's tasks, but the tension in the air was too palpable to hide. The children sensed the heavy atmosphere and became unusually quiet. They were accustomed to their parents' arguments. But this time, something felt different, more terrifying. Throughout the morning and early afternoon, the Frenchman obsessively scrolled through Facebook, reading comments and reactions to his accusatory post. Some supported him, believing he was a victim of deception, but many others expressed doubt and criticized him for airing such private matters. The negative comments fueled his frustration and anger. Duchess, too, received a flood of messages from friends and family. Some offered support and urged her to seek legal help, while others questioned the truth behind their relationship. The pressure from public scrutiny made her feel cornered, unsure of whom to trust. Around 3 p.m., the Frenchman decided to start a Facebook Live session to continue his public feud with Duchess. He turned on his phone's camera and began streaming, instantly drawing the attention of hundreds of followers. Those who had followed the drama from the previous day were eager to see what would happen next. He began by reiterating his accusations that Duchess had given him herpes. His voice was loud and filled with anger, no longer trying to mask his frustration. He criticized her for denying what he claimed was clear evidence and accused her of deceiving him for a long time while now trying to blame him in front of their online community. Duchess overheard him from the living room and came out to see what was happening. When she saw him live streaming and continuing to slander her, she could no longer hold back. She stepped into the camera's view and began interrupting him, trying to defend her reputation in front of the viewers. The argument quickly escalated. Duchess repeatedly interrupted the Frenchman as he tried to present his side. She vehemently denied the accusations and demanded he stop smearing her in public. The live stream audience witnessed a raw, unfiltered argument, far from the polished content typically seen on social media. The Frenchman felt he was losing control as Duchess kept interrupting him. In his mind, this was the final proof that she disrespected him and was trying to cover up her wrongs. The anger that had built up over months reached its peak. He felt his reputation and dignity were being tarnished in front of hundreds of people. In the heat of the argument, the Frenchman suddenly uttered chilling, life-threatening words. His voice turned cold and menacing as he declared he would kill Duchess right there, in front of everyone watching the live stream. These threats were no longer just angry outbursts, but carried a terrifying resolve. At first, Duchess thought these were empty threats, like those he'd made before. She continued trying to defend herself and demanded he stop the live stream. But something in the Frenchman's eyes and voice made her feel genuine fear. This was no longer a typical argument. The live stream viewers also sensed the shift in the atmosphere. Some commented that the situation seemed serious and urged them to stop arguing. Others called the police, concerned for Duchess's safety. But everything unfolded too quickly for anyone to intervene. In a fateful moment, the Frenchman carried out his threat. Before the eyes of hundreds watching the live stream, amidst their heated argument over accusations and denials, he killed Duchess on the spot. It happened in mere seconds, too fast for anyone to intervene or stop it. The live stream audience witnessed a real tragedy unfolding before their eyes. They had just seen one human take the life of another in real time, unedited and unscripted. Shock and horror spread through comments, shares, and frantic calls to the police. The Facebook livestream had gone from a family argument to the scene of a murder, captured mercilessly in the digital world. The first emergency call reached the Gwinnett County Police Department at 3:47 p.m. on June 14, 2025. The caller, a woman from Atlanta, nearly 60 miles away, had watched the entire incident unfold on Facebook Live. Her voice trembled as she described what she had just seen, struggling to believe she had witnessed a real murder on social media. Over the next 10 minutes, the 911 emergency line received dozens of similar calls from across and beyond Georgia. Livestream viewers reported the same incident at a house in Winder. Dispatchers quickly pinpointed the exact address using information from the Frenchman's Facebook account and calls from people familiar with the family. The first police units were dispatched to the scene within 15 minutes of the initial report. As officers approached the single-story White House on Elm Street, the calm exterior starkly contrasted the urgency of the emergency calls. There were no sounds from inside, no signs of activity. The officers surrounded the house following standard protocol, attempting to contact those inside via loudspeaker. They called out to both Shamarcus and Zaria, requesting they come outside to talk. But there was no response from within. The eerie silence heightened their concern for the safety of those inside. After nearly 30 minutes of unsuccessful attempts to establish contact, the police decided to enter the house. They broke the front door lock and moved in with weapons drawn. The scene inside shocked even seasoned officers. Zaria Duchess Dior was found dead in the living room. near the phone still running the Facebook app. She had been brutally assaulted before being shot dead. The wounds on her body showed she had endured horrific suffering in her final moments. The scene was marked by blood and signs of a desperate struggle. Shamarcus Jamiel Carr was not at the scene. Zaria's black Honda Accord was also missing from the garage. The police immediately issued a warrant for his arrest and alerted all patrol units in the area about the stolen vehicle. They also contacted the Georgia Bureau of Investigation (GBI) to report the homicide and request assistance in tracking the suspect. The GBI quickly dispatched a team of investigators to the scene. They began systematically collecting evidence, photographing the scene, and gathering critical samples. What made this case unique was an unprecedented piece of evidence in criminal history. The entire crime had been recorded on Facebook Live. GBI tech experts promptly contacted Facebook to ensure the live stream video was preserved before it could be permanently deleted. Although Facebook had removed the video shortly after receiving reports of violent content, their engineers were able to recover the data from their servers for the investigators. Meanwhile, the manhunt for Shamarcus was underway across Georgia. State and local police joined the search, checking traffic cameras and interviewing the suspect's family and friends for clues about his whereabouts. At around 6:30 p.m. that day, a patrol officer spotted the black Honda Accord on Highway 85 about 45 miles south of the crime scene. The vehicle was moving at a normal speed, showing no signs of attempting to flee. The officer immediately reported the location and requested backup. A GBI SWAT team was deployed to the area to execute the arrest. They set up roadblocks and prepared for a potentially dangerous confrontation. From the information gathered, they knew Shamarcus might still be armed and in an unstable mental state. As the SWAT team closed in, Shamarcus seemed to realize he was surrounded. Instead of attempting to flee or surrender, he made a final decision before the officers could approach the vehicle. A gunshot rang out from inside the cabin. The officers cautiously approached and found Shamarcus dead from a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. The gun was found in his hand, along with a brief handwritten note admitting his guilt, but offering no explanation of his motives or emotions in his final moments. Both bodies were transported to the GBI's medical examiner's office for official autopsies. The results confirmed what investigators already knew: Zaria died from gunshot wounds following an assault, and Shamarcus died by suicide. The case was officially closed within 4 hours of the incident, with the perpetrator dead and clear evidence from the live stream video. No prosecution or trial was needed. However, the case raised significant questions about the role of social media in disseminating violent content and the responsibility of platforms to prevent such tragedies. News of the murder broadcast live on Facebook quickly spread across national and international media. Images of Zaria and Shamarcus appeared on major news outlets, from CNN to BBC, turning them from ordinary individuals into dark symbols of the social media age. Their story was not just a typical domestic murder, but represented a troubling phenomenon: the rise of violence broadcast live on digital platforms. Zaria's family and friends held her funeral on June 22, 2025. Hundreds attended to honor a young woman remembered as a loving mother who always tried to bring joy to those around her. Photos from the funeral showed Zaria with her radiant smile, a stark contrast to the painful images from her final days. Zaria's children, who had witnessed the horrific events in their family, were taken in by other family members. Child psychologists intervened to help them cope with the trauma of witnessing domestic violence and losing their mother. Their future would forever bear the scars of the tragedy they endured. Facebook faced intense criticism for allowing violent content to be streamed live on its platform. The company had to explain its moderation policies and pledged to improve its systems for detecting harmful content. They announced plans to invest further in artificial intelligence to identify and stop violent live streams in real time. The true crime show Twisted Crimes dedicated a special episode to analyzing the case. They invited psychologists, lawyers, and sociologists to discuss the factors leading to the tragedy. Experts agreed that this was a textbook case of escalating domestic violence amplified by the power of social media. Dr. Sarah Martinez, a psychologist specializing in domestic violence, explained that the relationship between Zaria and Shamarcus exhibited all the signs of a toxic relationship control. Pathological suspicion, physical and psychological abuse, and ultimately the isolation of the victim. She emphasized that publicizing private conflicts on social media added pressure and heightened the risk of violence. The case became the subject of numerous academic studies on the connection between social media and domestic violence. Researchers noted that sharing personal conflicts on public platforms can create a toxic environment where individuals feel pressured to prove their point to an audience, leading to irrational decisions. The program concluded with a powerful message from the host, urging viewers to reflect on the toxic nature of Zaria and Shamarcus's relationship. They posed critical questions. What could Zaria have done to escape this situation? How could society intervene to prevent similar tragedies? And what is the role of social media in amplifying violence? These questions have no easy answers, but they force us to confront the reality that the digital world has changed the nature of domestic violence. Zaria and Shamarcus's tragedy serves as a warning about the need for new protective measures in the social media era. In closing, the program extended deep condolences to Zaria's family and friends, while calling on viewers to seek help if they are in toxic relationships. The final message was a reminder of the importance of staying safe and not letting personal conflicts become a public spectacle on social media.